was just saying to Tim, he's leaving, right? Like, here's the millennial from Microsoft now, so this should be good as a follow-up act. At least I'm not a Kardashian, right? So that's something.
Get a beer.
Nah, woohoo! I'm not going to make it up till 6. I think it was 6. Ooh, wow, that's nice. All right, I am going to talk about something a little more lightweight. Nothing about ethics or fake news or anything like that. I'm going to talk about real-time connected apps with .NET MAUI, Blazor, and SignalR. I put on the internet somewhere, so then it must be true, that I have an epic demo, which I've never done before. So this could be either a great session or not so much, and we're never going to talk about this again. It's a good thing it's not recorded, right? Thank you. All right. So who am I? Well, I am this millennial. My name is Gerald Versluis. I work for Microsoft here from the Netherlands, and I work on the .NET MAUI team. We're going to talk about all the techniques that I just mentioned. So if you don't know what that is, you will probably see that soon. You can find me on Twitter, all my handles, my email is here. I noticed just before here, and I still see him in the room, I don't want to call you out, I'm sorry, but there is someone who is visually impaired, so I'm sorry. I try to do my best, and it will be a very visual demo and everything. So sorry, I hope you will still take away something from this. If not, reach out to me afterwards, and I will give that beer that they give me to you. Or something like that. I also do something on YouTube along the same lines, .NET MAUI, Xamarin, Blazor, that kind of stuff. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely go there. So real-time ASP.NET with SignalR, because SignalR is from, if you look at where it started, then it comes from the ASP.NET world, and it's still very much in there. But now it's also something that has grown very much beyond that, right? Because you can use it in basically anything that is .NET, so that is really cool. And scenarios that you can come up with is like co-authoring. So if you look at like, I don't know how they call it, but if you open a Word document and you see all the cursors, which drives you really crazy with all the names in there, jumping around with people editing, or I should say Loop now, right? Microsoft Loop, that's the new thing. So you can co-author that with everyone at once, or what's the other one? Live share with Visual Studio. You can even do code together. That is probably built on top of SignalR. That's stuff that you can do with that. Real-time location-based tracking. So if you go to like your Uber or Lyft or whatever other things, your food order from Thuisbezorgd, then you got that, right, Isaac? Thuisbezorgd, yeah, absolutely. You can follow where it is, right? So real-time location, just hook it up, which is really cool if you have, like, in the context of mobile devices, right? With mobile apps, because you have access now to the GPS sensor, you can feed that data to a server and real-time update the location to somewhere. So that's all stuff that you can do with this. In-app notification, now the in-app part of this is really important, because one question that I always get, not necessarily at these events, but under YouTube videos or whatnot, is like, how can I do push notifications with SignalR? You can't, right? You can do them if you know that the person has the app open. Then you can get a notification, which works perfectly fine. But the push notifications is something that is built into the OS, right? That's proprietary only for Apple or Google. There are layers on top of that so that you can only send the notification once, but it will still have to go through the servers of Apple and Google. So maybe you can hook up SignalR on top of that somewhere, but the actual push notifications with the integration to the OS, et cetera, is something different. Which is a good thing, because else, if someone figures out how to crack those servers and whatnot, you will get spam also in your push notifications. You'll already get that probably from some apps. You can uninstall it if you don't want that, but you don't want to have that. Live dashboard, so for all these things like the real-time location, maybe your app where you track your food order, that can be a real life dashboard, right? Or in a more business context, if you, have trucks running around or something like that, you can track that on a dashboard as well. So what is SignalR? Well, basically it's a wrapper around a bunch of web technologies, and it will kind of like fall back gracefully. We'll see them in the next slide. It will fall back gracefully whenever one is not available. So it tries to pick the best one available depending on a lot of things like which browser are you using, if you're using it in a web context, are you using it from a mobile app, et cetera, and then it will just try to connect through that to a server, and then from there, if that isn't available, it will fall back to the other technologies. It's available for a bunch of languages, so C#, F#, Visual Basic, even Java, probably some others that I've missed, because it's a open source and open protocol thing, right? So if you have your own language and you want to implement this, you totally can, right? You just look up the protocol, see how all the things work, the handshake, everything, and you can implement your own SignalR client, server, etc. for your own language. So you can totally do that. So on top of this is the WebSockets, which is like at least for the time being, the most popular one, the best one that works. Then you have some other things that you probably do not want to touch. And the good thing is that you don't have to care. Right? You don't have to care about what these technologies are. It's probably very handy to know what this is all about, what they do, what the pros and cons are. But it will fall back automatically, right? And it can still work through the same SignalR connection, maybe a little less real time than the other ones. But you can still do all this. You won't even know which one it's connected to. It will just connect, and you can just work with it. You can work with the same APIs. You don't have to worry about it. So how does that look from like a architecture diagram with a couple of boxes? So basically, everything evolves around hubs. So you are creating a hub, and that's basically your server, right? So that's the thing that you're going to send signals to, and that can send signals to the clients as well. So here, if you go from that hub, so which is in this case an ASP.NET Server application, again, it can be other things, but typically it will probably be an ASP.NET Server application. You can send something to your client. So you're going to say like, hey, your food order, I don't know, I'm obsessed with food. I just had lunch, but it's still food. I'm still hungry. Hey, your order is on your way, right? And boom, here's your notification in app, right? Or your chat client. Chat is always a good example. So you can send a message. A message came in from the client, maybe. The hub processed that, and it sends a message to all the other clients with like, hey, this message came in. This is the updated message, right? You need to show that on screen. You can just do that by calling clients.client. You can do a certain ID, so you can just send it to one client. You can group them together. Those clients and the connections can be authorized. They can be actual users. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with that. So you can group and order them in all kinds of ways that is relevant to your application. And just send something to one group, one client only, or just all the clients if you want to broadcast something, right? And then you're going to say, hey, my client function. And then you have this hub proxy, right? So this is just a proxy implementation of the contract that you have. So you're going to have some kind of like remote procedure calls. That's basically what it is. So you're going to have to define like, hey, if this is coming in, then you need to execute this piece of code on the client, right? So that's kind of how it works. We're going to see that in a couple of examples in a little bit. And the other way around then is also true. Like if you have a client, and again, you can say like, hey, okay, my food order has arrived. Boom. Here is the review. I don't know, maybe that doesn't make sense, but maybe you send that chat message and you're going to say, hey, this hub connection, because you're going to build up a connection, right? It has to be real time. You have to keep that connection. Send async, and you're going to have to specify like the method that you want to invoke on the server. By default, it's going to be magic strings. I should still look into if there is some kind of library or something that will make this better. But for now, it's going to be magic strings. So you can just invoke that, and you can send parameters, everything in there, to provide some data to your call as well. There is also a Azure-hosted service for this. I think it has some limitations in like not everyone being able to send something to that. But then you don't have to worry about the scaling and that kind of stuff yourself. So you can use that, and you have a couple of possibilities there to not have to write your entire own server application with everything and anything in there. I'm not going to show that today, but I just wanted to know to know that it's out there, and that's something that you can look into if that's what you want. Okay, so I have a little first demo, which is interactive. Who doesn't like interactive? Yes, get out your phones. You can actually do it right now. And go to gerald.fyi/vote. All right. This is going to be epic. This is not the demo that can fail, by the way. Well, it can still fail. Who knows? But, you know, no worries. This was supposed to happen. And I'm going to go to that same page, gerald.fyi/vote, but I'm going to go to my super secret admin portal. Please don't do that at home. Admin is 42. There we go. All right, how do you like Gerald today? Well, vote, vote, vote. Come on. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you. I'm overwhelmed by all this love. Everyone thinks I'm awesome, and the session is. Oh, that's great. Maybe this is because I built in a little cheat mode. By now you've probably discovered that if you vote meh, then it's still going to go to awesome. Also, if you're going to reload the page, you can vote again. I know there's a lot of bugs here to work out. But if you keep it at the page where it says, like, hey, you voted. So you vote once, and it says, like, hey, you voted, you can't vote again. Just keep it at that. And if I click here on the reset button, you will see that in real time, it will reset that page, and it will say, like, hey, now you can vote again. And now I disabled the cheat mode, so now I'm definitely not tracking who is voting meh, but I could. All right, so this is just a little example, little fun example of what you can do, right? This is just something that moves around basically one integer to which side it has to vote for, and it can update in real time here on this page. So how does that work? Here we have the project to do that. And in this case, it's kind of weird because it's the server and the client all in once, all in one thing, which is typically not something that you probably would do. So try to wrap your head around that. But this is just a typical ASP.NET project, right? You just do file new ASP.NET project, and here you are. And then in the program CS, you're going to see a couple of things. Like you're going to see this add SignalR thing. And in this case, like I said, because it's also the client, I'm also going to add like the Razor pages, right? So it can also show the Razor pages here. But the important thing for the server part is add SignalR. So you're going to register everything for the SignalR thing here. Then later on, you also need to create an endpoint for the actual hub, right? So you want to make sure that that hub, you can actually reach it, right? That's the goal. You want to make that available to the big bad internet so that you can connect to it and actually get and send data. So if I go to /voting hub here, you can actually see that it's there, right? I hosted this one on Azure, so if I do this and I go to actual /voting hub, then you will see like, hey, connection ID is required. So I'm not sending it the right thing, but it's there, right? It's ready to do something, apparently. If I send it a connection ID, then I can start interacting with it. And that's what you do whenever you start creating the client, and it will start connecting to this endpoint, and it will know what to actually send. That's that open protocol stuff, right? So we have that, and whenever we got that all set up, well, we have this hub, which is a voting hub, and in here, we have all the magic, right? So this voting hub inherits from a hub, which is a built-in object from SignalR, so that's something that you can inherit from to make all the magic work. In this case, I have a vote state, so I think I also registered that here for like the dependency injection, right? So I have this vote state, which keep the state for this actual voting round, and it's not very complicated. It's just a cheat mode is true. That seems very important. And then there's a dictionary of like int, so you know I could have made this prettier probably, but just like zero, the zero key is the awesome votes, and the one key is the meh votes, and then you know the second column is going to be the actual vote count here. Now, the important thing here is, it might be obvious to some people, maybe not to others. You want to register a state object like this for the web server as a singleton, something which I didn't do before, and it maybe took longer than I'd like to care to admit here. That, you know, the vote state, I didn't get all the things, right? So how did that work? Well, it's going to create a new vote state for every request that was coming in, right? So I had a lot of vote states with just one vote. So if you want to get them all together in a graph, then you want to have a singleton where they all come together, right? So you want to make sure to think about it that way. So vote state, that's there. Where did my hub go? And here, so we have the constructor, right? Nothing fancy here. And here we have the actual calls, right? So here we have disable cheat mode. We'll see this in a little bit, how this is called. And we have the send vote. And this is actually the methods that we can call from our SignalR clients that we make available, right? It's just a method, a C# method in a class that happens to inherit from a hub, and now you can suddenly call these things. And here, disable cheat mode, so that sets my actual, the vote state object cheat mode to false. It resets the actual votes. And then I do clients.all, so in this case, I'm just broadcasting it to all the clients, send async, and here I'm going to put the method name, the magic string, that I want to invoke on your client, right? And it's going to reset with, I think, this is actually sending the dictionary of the votes, right? So you're getting all the votes that dictionary that you just saw all the time to update. I don't know actually why I'm doing that. Oh wait, yeah, I'll get to that why this is happening. And the update votes on the same thing. And I'm doing this because this was the server and the client all at once, right? So you have the client and you don't really see anything. You can just control the votes. But here, I need to get all the votes to show them in the graph, right? So that's kind of like the confusing thing that's going on here. So actually, it's sending it to itself. We'll see that in a little bit. And here we have the send vote. For cheat mode, I'm also always going to put it in like the 0 option here. And then I'm going to do clients.all send async update votes. And that clients all, I maybe should change that for the next demo, is because I am my own client and I'm hooking that up here. So for now, I did it all with ASP.NET and JavaScript just to show you that you can do that. And here you can see my very, very AI algorithmic security measures to open up the admin portal. And then you can see, like, hey, you can see that chart, right? So I have this chart set up, which is just a JavaScript library that does this for me, chart.js probably, that's what it's called. And I add stuff to that. And you, whenever you go to the other one, like is not admin, you can get these, right? You saw the 2 buttons and you do all this stuff. Now, you just add this JavaScript library for SignalR that's available, it's maintained, it's everything. You can just plug that in here and you can use all this goodness. And then I have like 2 scripts for the client and for the server. So I make a little differentiation there. And you can see, yeah, chart.js, see? It's always a good guess. And I do some things here, right? I add the labels, I set up the whole thing, and so you can actually do things. So if I go to the server, which is actually, I should definitely change this. The server, which is also the client, those are here, JS. So this is my part of the thing, right? This is the bars that you just saw on screen. We're first going to create that connection. So we're just going to do new SignalR hub connection builder with URL. You can see again that endpoint that I just mentioned as well, right? So voting hub.build. And now we have our connection string, assuming that everything is in order. And also this assumes that it's localhost, right? Else you would have had some kind of address or IP address in there. But in this case, I'm connecting to myself, so I can just do the endpoint and it will figure that out. And then I can invoke things on this connection, or I can hook up events that I want to be notified for. So I can say connection on update votes. See, here we have the thing that confused me just now, update votes, which gets the whole dictionary of the actual votes. And whenever we do, so on, whenever we get the updates vote signal, we invoke this function. And we can add parameters here. So this has to match with whatever I'm putting in here, right? So if I wanted to put in here another string value, I could just do this. I would have a string value, and I also had to update this one, right? So I could get here string Kardashian. I don't even know how you spell it. Kardashian. Kardashian? No, something like that. So, right, so you can put that in there and you will get the value as well. In this case, I'm getting that dictionary and it gets serialized with like JavaScript, JSON automatically, right? So you don't have to do anything. And as soon as it goes over the line, it will become JSON. You can read it in JavaScript. You can deserialize it on the other end with C# if that's what you want, or you can, it will be automatically serialized in like the object that you tried to specify here. We'll see that in a little bit. But you can use this throughout all kinds of different technologies. Now here I'm setting just the my chart data sets for like the meh and the awesome, and I do a little update, so this is very much JavaScript-y thing. The reset button, so that's also on my thing. I had that reset button, and I could add the event handler. So this is just some JavaScript stuff going on here. I do the click, but now I'm doing connection invoke, and I'm going to do that disable cheat mode, right? And now I'm going to go here to my voting hub, and it's going to do this, and it's going to execute everything in here. So that's how you make that connection and invoke and get the signals for events and invoke something on the other end. Now here, I hook this all up, and then you say connection.start, and then whenever something happens, I'm going to log it to the console, right? Because that's obvious enough, right? You will find that there in the console after hours of debugging. No, obviously, this is all demo code, right? Don't do this at home. You should definitely set this up a little bit better, but this is just to get the point across. And for just to get the story full circle, this is your client, so here you should see the things, kind of like the same thing. You have that connection that you're going to build up. we're going to get that awesome button, right? So whenever you click awesome, it's going to invoke the send vote with a value of 0. That's the category that you're voting for. So again, we're going to go here, send vote with the option, which I'm going to reset whenever it's the cheat mode, right? And that is how that all works. And then for, well, you get the idea, right? If you get the signal for like the whole reset thing, then it's going to reset. We're going to enable the buttons again, and we can restart the whole thing. Cool. Whew. All right, so then we got a couple of other technologies. I had a little bit of water here. Let's get that. So what is .NET MAUI? Anyone who has worked with Xamarin Forms before? Woo. Oh my gosh, this is good. Anyone who's already working with .NET MAUI? All right, nice. A little bit. Cool. So what is .NET MAUI? Well, basically, very simply put, it's the evolution of Xamarin Forms. Cliffhanger. And cliffhanger, sorry, Xamarin Forms has been our offering for cross-platform apps based on C#.NET for iOS, Android, and UWP. And also a little bit Titan, Linux, WPF, macOS. Those were kind of like backed by community members, but not really official. So the really official ones were iOS, Android, and UWP. Now, I don't know if this is true. I like it to be true. I've heard this story. The Xamarin Forms, right? Yeah, Forms. It's already a little bit boring name. So maybe it was only designed and architected to only do Forms applications, right? Data entry applications, nothing too fancy. And I dug up this graphic from an old website. I'm not even sure if this was from the Xamarin website before it was acquired by Microsoft. And even without reading all the things there, you can just see like, hey, the top one is Xamarin Forms is best for, and then you see 3 screenshots of the devices with like, ooh, a couple of data entry boxes, and ooh, a blue box, ooh, exciting. And then the layer below that, right, you have like the Xamarin iOS and Xamarin Android, and those are best for a media player and a game and maps. That's like where the cool stuff happens, right? So I don't know if it's true or not, if Xamarin Forms was architected to just do data entry applications and more enterprisey applications, but it was certainly marketed that way, right? And I think there's some truth to it because Xamarin Forms has now existed for like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years, and you could definitely do all the things for games and maps and all the things. But you can notice that it will, at some point, it will start eating into your performance, right? So you can definitely do all that. The way everything was architected with the renderers, you could hook into that, and you can get all the APIs from the native stuff out there, make everything available, and do all the things. But the architecture, it just wasn't great for that, right? So now, we took all that, we took all of our learnings of Xamarin Forms, and we put that in .NET MAUI, with which we can do everything over again, and we can make it better. And .NET MAUI stands for Multi-Platform App UI. I've been doing these sessions long enough that I should watch out to not do the jokes too often, but I always joke that the P is made lowercase, because else it would be .NET MAUI, which is always great, but doesn't sound, no. Okay, I've done it oh, there's, okay, some laughs, okay. Pity laughs, maybe. Doesn't matter. And now this is our cross-platform apps offering for, based still on C# and .NET, but now for iOS, Android, Windows, and macOS. So you can see that macOS was bumped up there. It's now a first-class citizen, and UWP has been, you know, discontinued, so it's not a thing anymore. And we were going to say, hey, we're not going to attach to WinUI. We're just going to say Windows now, so that if whenever something happens to WinUI, hopefully not, we will now just stick with Windows, right? Whatever the next thing is going to be that we're building on top. So if we wrap that in a little marketing sauce, then .NET MAUI is the most productive way to develop native apps that perform great on any device running on Android, iOS, macOS, and Windows from a single code base. We've also put everything in a single project. But that's not really the focus of this talk. Basically, what we're doing, very simply put, again, with .NET MAUI is we have this UI activity indicator and a progress bar, which is a circle. But all right, Android, it's fine. So we have these native components, right? And what we're doing is we're putting a abstraction layer on top of that, and we're saying, hey, this is an activity indicator, and whenever you specify an activity indicator on the .NET MAUI layer, we're going to do the translation to you to a UI activity indicator on iOS, a progress bar on Android, and there's probably something on Windows as well that will look similar. So same thing for the slider, right? So you will get that native look and feel on the platform that you're running on, while you can just say, hey, this is a activity indicator or slider or entry or whatnot. And the way that we do that is basically, the .NET framework. Again, .NET framework is now a very confusing term, but the .NET framework, even though it's the modern one, the way that's set up, we have all these libraries, right? We have system.NET System, System.io, and what we just do is add a layer on top, depending on the platform that you're running on, with bindings to the platform-specific API. So we have MapKit, UIKit for all the iOS stuff. We have the DLLs and the mappings for that. And whenever you switch to Android, we swap those out with like something that's called a fingerprint or Bluetooth or whatever works for that platform, right? So primarily .NET MAUI, I mean, there's UI in the name, is a user interface framework, but we also have a bunch of other APIs that are very common across platforms that you can use. You might know them as Xamarin Essentials. They're still on this slide as MAUI Essentials, just because I don't really know how to explain this any different, because this is basically now just functionality that's available to you. It doesn't really have a name anymore. There's a very historic reason behind all of this. I will explain that to you right after this session. But we have all these APIs that are common across devices, like getting the location, accessing the camera, making the flashlight flash. So we have all this stuff that you can do with almost all devices, and we have now a unified API for you to do that as well from your .NET MAUI app. So let's get into a little demo again. Don't worry, this is supposed to happen. And I'm going to build up this demo, and then hopefully it will not fail. So my kind of like, you can actually win a prize. I will get to that in a little bit. But I have this MAUI application first. So I have this whole setup. I have a solution with, I hope I don't need to install extra components for this. So I have a whole solution with all kinds of different applications, one of which is the MAUI one. So let's set that as the starter project. And I've asked ChatGPT for a good name, which is no joke, where you can play kind of dictionary in this group setting, and it came up with something Bob Ross, and I thought, wow, that's nice, Bob Ross Doodle. So it was a collaboration of me and ChatGPT. But here we are, Bob Ross Doodle. So what I did is create a kind of server application for in actual MAUI. And let me run this on Windows, that works best. So whenever I do this, I'm just going to show you first and then go through a little bit of code, just so you can see what it does. So the idea is that I have this kind of like server application. There is already a SignalR service, again, hosted in Azure, that has all of this. Why are you coming up with a terminal? That's interesting. But here, oh, there we go. I have this MAUI client where I can draw, right? Right? So I'm Bob Ross in this case. I should have brought my my hair, I guess. And here I can change colors. I can do red. I can do something else. I can do clear. I can start over. I can do start. And whenever I do start, a timer starts to run. I will get a secret word here on my phone. That's another part of the demo. I hope I get to all of it seeing at the time. But I will get a word. I'm going to draw it, and you will have another client where you get no cheat mode this time. I promise. Where you can guess, and whatever you're going to guess is going to come up here on the right, and you can don't not yet. I'm building up. You will see all your guesses, and the one that guesses it right, the first, will get a prize, right? So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I have this application, which is a MAUI application. I could switch this to, I must be honest, this is very much designed to run on desktop, but I can switch this to macOS, and it will work the exact same, but it will look slightly different, mostly the same, because I'm not really using that much platform-specific controls, but it will just work there. I can just switch it to macOS, run on there. I can switch it to iOS, I can run it on there. In this case, it's not going to look pretty because I have this big canvas that you can draw on, so it's going to be very, tight and not looking great. I didn't put a lot of effort in there to make it responsive, but it's totally something that you can do. So that is the power here. And what you can do is dive into this MAUI program, and you can see a couple of things. So first we have this MAUI program.cs, and if you look at this, this will be very similar to what you're used to from ASP.NET, right? We have this app host builder, which you can use to configure your application. You can use dependency injection. I can just say here builder.services. If I could type in front of an audience, add transient, right? So you can do add transient. You can do add singleton for your state object. You can just put that in here, and you can use the constructor injection by just referencing that object again in your constructor, and then it will get injected, right? So all these concepts are going to be in here that you're familiar with from other .NET projects, because I'll be honest, cross-platform development is pretty hard. You're not going to have fun days. Sometimes. There's a lot of fun days as well, but sometimes it's going to be very hard, and everything that we can do to kind of lower that threshold to make things familiar for you with these concepts like, hey, the app builder, dependency injection, that is common across different .NET projects, will make it easier for you to get started and hopefully get that friction out of the way so you can have frustration later on instead of from day one. So there we have all that. Now, here, then we have a couple of concepts, and you can still write platform-specific code, right? So we have made an abstraction for nearly everything, for a lot of things, and most people can work in there for a lot of their time, but you can still reach into the platform power if that's what you really want. So we don't have an abstraction for everything, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 platforms here that we want to create apps for, and for each control, that means that we have to do it 5 times. And then for each of the properties of those controls, we have to do it 5 times. So that's a big effort to implement everything. We already done a lot. We have like 40 plus controls, which can do amazing things. But if there's still one thing that we missed, or that's very specific to a platform, say you want to implement Apple Pay, we don't have that. You can go in here, you can go to your platform's iOS folder, and you will still see C#. You will see a couple of scary things like register app delegate, and you will see unknown namespaces like foundation or UI kit, because that's all mapped to iOS stuff, but you can still write it in C#. And the cool thing is you can still ask ChatGPT, or you can go to Stack Overflow like old people do, and you can search for whatever I want to do on iOS. You can get that code, add a couple of semicolons and some capital letters, and boom, you have C# code that will work in your .NET MAUI app, right? So that will make it so much easier. And there's a lot of stuff for Xamarin iOS as well that you can still leverage with all of this. So that's all there. That's all really cool. But everything outside of this platforms folder is basically abstract. So you can do your resources, your resource management. You can just plug in an image, ideally in SVG, because that scales to infinity. And we will scale everything for you into the right formats. Because if you've been working with cross-platform already, and a lot of you have, then you know that you have to get all the images in there for iOS, like on 3 different resolutions, and for Android it's going to be like a gazillion. So you don't have to do that anymore. You just plug in one image, and we will do all the scaling for you. Same thing with fonts and all the other things that you can have in here. So that's in a quick nutshell what a .NET MAUI app is. And if you want to hook that up to SignalR, you can do that. You just install the NuGet package for that. So if we go look at like our CS proj right here and scroll down a little bit, then we have here package reference, Microsoft ASP.NET Core SignalR client. Now don't let the ASP.NET Core throw you off. You can use this in any C# project. Doesn't have to be ASP.NET Core. You can just install that here, and you can start using it. So I've done that. And again, it's demo code. It's demo code. So I have created that hub connection again. And also what I did is that hub connection builder with URL. I have that in a constants hub address .build, and I have my hub connection. It's almost the same syntax as JavaScript, right? So you can just leverage again that knowledge that you already have to set it up here as well. Then I can do the same thing with that hub connection .on. But here I can strongly type whatever the thing is that's coming in. So I have this guest object. And whenever I have a guest received, I can then execute this function, right? I have it as a lambda expression here. You can put that in a separate method if that's what you want. But I have this guess. I have the guesses here, which is a observable collection, right? So that's something, whenever you want to update the UI, you want to have an observable collection because that notifies whenever a new value is added or removed. So I have these guesses, and I will add them to that so I can show them in the list on the right. So that's happening. I need to do that on the main thread to actually scroll to the top to make sure that the top one is always visible. I have a little timer that's going on. And I have game over, right? So whenever someone guessed the right one, it's going to be game over. No one can vote anymore, and you will see a little dialogue here. So this is all stuff that works in my .NET MAUI application. But if I would make this same application, but now in Java, because I like pain, you can do all the same stuff. You can do all these same calls, but now you would have to do, ooh, that's a long time. What was it again? Swing? Is Swing a Java thing? Does people know? I don't know. There was a fancy name for all the UI stuff there that I can't remember right now. But you can do all this stuff. You can make your own implementation there based on the same calls, and you can make a Java application that can do all these same things, right? Now, this is a last-minute change that I just did, which hopefully is not going to break my demo. So whenever I run this on iOS, I have the same application also on my phone, my private phone, deployed iOS. It's going to send the secret word, which is generated on the server side, and it's going to send it, but just to the ones that are deployed on iOS. And I have the only one, right? Haha. But I decided, like, hey, there's a gap in my story where I don't talk about Blazor Hybrid, so I changed it to have a Blazor Hybrid client in here as well. So I hope this is going to work well with my demo, else everything will fail here. But so this is one call that's very secret to me, which is going to tell me the word that I actually have to draw, right? So I don't have to put it here on the screen. I did think about this a little bit, so you would know what to guess, right? That would be released too. All right, so hub connection.start async is going to start that connection, set everything up, hook up all the events, and we're ready to go, right? So here are some other like event handlers, nothing too fancy. I'm using the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, so that is a project which has a lot of controls that are not in official .NET MAUI, but we're kind of like, building that out in a community effort, and we have this drawing view that was the thing that you could just see where I could doodle on, setting the colors for that and doing all that, right? So that's in a nutshell how to work with this .NET MAUI app, and to make it. Oh, actually, I should probably show you some XAML because that's big in the .NET MAUI world. You can do everything in C# if that's what you want. We've got a couple of helpers to make it easier in C# as well. But the biggest thing right now is to do it in XAML, which you might know from WPF, UWP, Silverlight, right? But we changed a couple of property names and that kind of stuff, just enough to confuse you, right? So we got that all in here. And you can just build your UIs like this. We have a grid, we have a horizontal stack layout, we have a couple of buttons, right? So that were the top ones. And I have that big drawing view where you can draw some stuff, the collection view for the right, so you can see all the entries show up here with data binding and everything. So if you know MVVM, if you know other C# and .NET products, this should feel right at home. All right. It would be like an anticlimax if I would do like all the slides and not have enough time to actually do the demo. That would be cool. All right. But I think there's a break after this, right? So you're just going to stay all here. So what is Blazor? Who does not know what Blazor is? All right. I can just skip this one. I'm just going to do it because there's a fun story. So Blazor, right? If you think about single-page applications, you think about these rich applications, web applications, where you go to the browser and you have this bar on the side, and you have this amazing grid and a dialogue, and it looks super rich and amazing. And then if you go to the same application on your mobile device, it's all going to fold together, and it's going to be responsive, and it's going to be amazing. It's still going to be looking all the same and doing all the same amazing things, right? But if you think about these single-page applications, then you're going to think about like Angular and React and Vue, right? And those are based all on JavaScript. Now, I can make jokes about JavaScript here for a while, but in that time, there's probably going to be a dozen new JavaScript frameworks while I do it. So let's not do that. And as much as I love to make fun of other languages, they're all fine, right? And the problem here is the context switching, right? It doesn't matter if it's JavaScript or Rust or C++ or what other people do. Just the fact that you have to, but preparing that demo with like all the JavaScript, I know kind of how it still works, but I don't do it often enough to be fluent in it. So I have to go out and search like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? No, I don't want to use jQuery, blah, blah. So you're doing a lot of stuff. You're going outside of your ecosystem, which is just eating into your productivity. So for that, we invented Blazor. You can just use C#. You can use your tooling and IDE that you know and love, Visual Studio Code. You can use a consistent ecosystem, right? You don't have to download all of the internet with NPM. You can now just download half of the internet with NuGets, right? That's very much different. And you have all the stability of like 20 years of .NET that you're building on top, right? So you have all of that. You never have to leave your safe bubble, and you can be very productive, still doing all the things, but now with all the things that you already know. So this is also part of the ASP.NET Core family. It's all built on top of that. So we have on the UI side, we have MVC, Razor pages, single page applications, templates. We already have that, but now based on Angular, I think. And on the other part, we have like HTTP APIs, right? So the REST API kind of things, gRPC, SignalR already in there. And ooh, where would Blazor fit in? Right? Big surprise. So it's like on the web UI side where you can do all the things. And if you've been working with Blazor, actually if you've been working with Blazor Server, so we have a couple of different variations, right? You've already been working with SignalR, maybe without you knowing it. So if you have a Blazor Server application, you still are running the most of that on the server, but all the mutations on your UI are going to be sent to the server, like, hey, the person clicked this button, and then it's going to be sent back, like, okay, then you need to change this in like your document object model, right? And that goes through SignalR. And that's also the reason why you sometimes have these websites now where you go there and then, especially on whenever you do it on your phone, whenever something goes to the background, it doesn't get any cycles, right? It's gone. You can't process anything there. So what happens is it loses the connection. So whenever you come back, it's going to say like, hey, trying to reconnect. If you see that, that's a Blazor server application probably, which is trying to reconnect, which is trying to establish that SignalR connection again. Right, so that's what's going on there on the background. And we have this Blazor WebAssembly one where you take that whole Blazor application, but now more like JavaScript, run it actually inside of the browser, where you compile it based on some intermediate language that is called WebAssembly, and you can have that DOM interaction right in the browser, right? So choosing your Blazor application, whenever there's choices, there's pros and cons, right? And it all depends. That's always the good answer to this. I think the cons here at the bottom sum it up pretty nicely. It requires a persistent connection and higher UI latency for Blazor server because you're always going to have that round trip to the server and back to update your UI. But on the WebAssembly side, you have the larger download size because you have to download the way we set up .NET applications now. We're going to provide the .NET framework that you have to use for your application together with the whole application, right? So I think for .NET 6 and maybe for .NET 7 it's even less. It's like down to 1 megabyte, which is like your average cat GIF, right? So you just download that, but you have to have that, right? So your application is always going to be 1 megabyte plus whatever you create yourself. And you have a slower runtime performance, theoretically, because you don't know the hardware that is running on. It could be a thin client, and you don't have that beefy server that's processing everything. So give or take, there's a use case for everything here. So now we have this modern web UI with .NET and Blazor, right? And we have Blazor Server, Blazor WebAssembly, but we also have Blazor Hybrid. Like I said, I didn't do this before, and I think the flow would be better if I continue explaining the rest and then do the full demo. So ignore this for now. Because this is I will pull this up in a little bit. So this is going to be the new URL, gerald.fy/Bob from Bob Ross, right? We're going to go there, but not now. And you can win prizes, right? I'm going to draw, I'm going to do the whole thing. And you can get like this .NET MAUI book in action. I asked my good friend Matt Goldman, who is all the way in Australia. Hello, if you're watching this. I asked him like, hey, I'm going to do this amazing epic session if all goes well. Can I give away one of your books? He said, yes, absolutely. And then my friends at Gerald, if you've been working with Xamarin and .NET MAUI, you might know Gerald, which is an amazing looking UI component suite. You can get a license for a year for that as well to use that. So you can choose whatever you want, whatever fits best. But I'm going to first finish my story, then go to the demo. So Blazor Hybrid is like the wedding of these two things, right? We have .NET MAUI, with which you can access all the platform sensors, the GPS, the camera, all the things. And we have Blazor, with which you can leverage all your web skills, or, we get all this stuff for free, right? So you can combine these two. And I could talk about that here. So we have like the Blazor on the website. We have .NET MAUI, which runs on all these platforms with all the power, all the capabilities there. And we just put those together, and we're calling that Blazor Hybrid. So with .NET MAUI Blazor or Blazor Hybrid, we're kind of confused with the terms there, which we want to use. You can build cross-platform native apps that run on Windows, macOS, iOS, and Android, which are not coincidentally all platforms that run .NET MAUI, right? And even Tizen is on there. So Tizen is from Samsung, which runs on your fridge, and I think they have watches and TVs and all kinds of stuff. So you can build apps for that as well. And you can use your existing Razor class library. So Tim, just before me, he talked about Blazor for like 2 seconds, and he mentioned Radson, which is a component vendor for like Blazor stuff, for the web, because Blazor is web technology to begin with, right? You can just take those Radson controls, put them inside of your .NET MAUI application, and it runs. Doesn't need to know that it's not web, doesn't need to know that it's MAUI, it just runs. So you can just use those components or other Blazor components that you've built already that are running in production. You can just put those in your .NET MAUI application. And you have full platform device access. So if you're running this in the browser, then you have the browser sandbox, right? Which is a good thing, because from the browser, if you go to the wrong website, it can't format your hard drive, right? That's a good thing, I would say. The other news is, if you're building a .NET MAUI application with a Blazor web application, you totally can format your hard drive, right? So that's kind of like the main difference here. So just what I want to say there is you don't have that sandbox anymore. You can go out to the file system, do a file system watcher or whatever the thing is called in Windows. You can do all that. Still, you have to play by the rules of like the iOS and Android permissions, that kind of stuff. There still is some kind of sandbox, but it's much more relaxed than the browser sandbox. So that's the thing that you want to keep in mind there. So it's an extension of Blazor. It's the third option to go with all of this. Of course, this slide is already older because now we have a fourth option, which is Blazor United. But that's coming in .NET 8, so I should update for that. And it's implemented all through a Blazor web view, right? And that's really the cool thing, because that Blazor web view, you can do a bunch of stuff with that. It's just a .NET MAUI control. So you can make an application with a full Blazor web view. That's the thing that I'm going to show you in a little bit, and build your app completely with HTML, CSS, and C#. Or you can just make it one element in your UI, right? So you have this, I don't know, dashboard with one widget which tells you your food, something again, your food temperature. That's something you want to know. And then you have this other thing, but I don't know, you want it to be Blazor because you have an existing component. You can just load that one Blazor component inside of that 4x4 square thingy, and the rest is like your native Blazor .NET MAUI application, your native iOS application, and just that one thing is a Blazor application. Also, the Blazor web view is also implemented for WinForms and WPF. So if you have your legacy application still working, and you want to modernize that, you can now go out, start that Blazor application, maybe you're already doing that, and start bringing those components in also to your WinForms application, modernizing it kind of like from the inside out. So that's very interesting for a lot of people as well. So Mythbusters, I already talked about most of this, but the one thing that I didn't really mention is like this is running on .NET MAUI or WinForms or whatever as a native .NET application, right? Because Blazor is .NET, C#, .NET, it's all .NET. So there's no server process for the Blazor application that is being spun up in the background or separate processes or whatnot. It's all .NET. The only thing web about it is the HTML and CSS that actually shows the UI, which is a cool thing. If you're coming from the web background, you can leverage all those skills. You will get kind of like we're using Bootstrap in there, so you get all the responsiveness. You kind of get that for free, which takes some effort to actually implement that for your .NET MAUI application. So yeah, that's kind of like the trade-offs here and there. All right, so with all of that, let's go back to this one. I think it's time. It's time. Gerald, FYI/Bob. Okay, I should see if this all works. Oh wait. Okay. So we're gonna do this. First, I'm gonna show you what I see. So Gerald, FYI/Bob. We can remember that, right? Let's see if I can project my screen here for a little bit. Now, this first one that I'm going to show you, don't go guessing. All right. It doesn't count. So I have my Blazor Hybrid application here. I don't have time to go over the full code here, I think. It's not open source yet. It's on my GitHub repository, so I will open source it as soon as I reset all the secrets that are probably in there. And then you can just find me and find the code or message me on one of the channels, and I will get that to you. So let's just do this server application, and here I have this. The Blazor Hybrid application, if this will let me. All right, so this is my companion app, and if you go to FYI/Bob, then you can also see, like, hey, I can start guessing. And if I press start here, I will get the secret word, right? So it's smile, yay, smile, smile, smile. Okay, woo, smile. Oh, rule. I'm not sure where the English accent came from, but yeah, this is how it works, except for rule. It would be nice if there was a couple of wrong guesses, okay? So this is how it works. So I have the secret word. Oh, I see there's a little bug here. So we have the secret word coming into just my phone, and then you all have to guess what I'm drawing here, right? So that's how it works. Okay. I should have built a reset mechanism in this app. I didn't do that, so I need to restart it. And I need to minimize this one, right? Just need to watch it here. Okay. So everyone is logged in. Gerald.fyi/Bob. You should have input your name first, I think. Let me just reset this app just to be sure. All right, everyone's connected. Everyone filled in their name, because the first screen you have to fill in your name, right? And then you can start guessing. All right. We got this. It seems good. Okay, press start. All right. Ooh, okay. This is too bad. But all right, we can do it. Okay. Oh, I can do it with my finger. Wait. Yeah, okay, we can do it. Someone? Any guesses? Are you guessing yet? Yeah, really? Oh my gosh. Oh no. See, oh no. Oh no. Okay, stop. Okay, everyone, refresh the page maybe. Oh no. Oh, this is so bad. Okay, hold on. Refresh the page, do it. We're gonna try again. Else I don't know what I'm gonna do with the prizes, because I don't have a backup plan here. This was supposed to work. All right, let's do it again. I'm getting the secret word here, so something is working.
Can I use the same word or different?
No, it's a different one. All right. Guesses? Someone? No? Oh, no. Why? Oh, that sucks. I really don't have a backup plan. Why did the one... So if you... Okay, the word is monkey. Can someone try that? Does the correct one come through? Because Roel just did it earlier, right?
This application may not respond.
Okay, this is awkward. No worries. Okay. I'm doing that all the time. The one thing that I'm not... No, I can... No, it's not going to work. I have to... This is stupid. Okay, I'm not going to debug this any further and make this more awkward for myself. Okay. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the prizes now. We'll figure something out. Whenever you do have interest... Oh, my gosh. Okay, I'll come up with something later.
Maybe we can shout out.
All right. No, I'll figure something out. All right. Ball. Oh, that's gonna hurt. No.
Standing on your slide, it's underlined. Gerald.fyi.
Yeah.
It's Gerald.
Yeah, but that's...
It's too obvious, isn't it?
Oh, okay, let's do that. Okay, email, yes. Yes. Okay, we're gonna go like low code here. All right, what do you do? Notepad, yes. So this is my email. Joe, I'll just put that on the screen a little bit later. All right. Can I zoom this in? Is this? Oh, it's implemented now. That's cool. All right, so this is my email. Take a picture or do whatever. Gerald.Versluis@Microsoft.com. You can find it online if that's what you want. I'm gonna do... This is what you're gonna do. Start your email client, all right? Put it in there. I'm still gonna draw. The first one to send me an email with the right answer is gonna win, all right? Yes. The email is going to send through SignalR. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, Microsoft.com.
All right, everyone has it? Everyone good? Need to have the secret word here. If you don't want to send the email, you can do one last try, refresh, really kill your browser, refresh the application, see if we can get the guesses. Oh my gosh, this is... It worked the entire time I was preparing this. This is...
It worked on my machine.
Yeah, exactly, it worked on my machine. What the hell? And I'm getting the secret word, like what's going on? All right. Start, okay. All right, okay, here we go. Okay, you have to email me, right? The right answer. Of course, I don't know when to stop, right? I don't know when the right answer is going to come in. That's kind of the flaw in this plan, I guess.
No, man.
No. Don't have the right. No. 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 Okay. I heard the right one there.
Roman.
No, it's the whole thing. The whole thing. What's this? Did I hear baby? Okay, just someone send me baby, please. All right. All right. I'm not going to open my email. Thank you for bearing with me here. All right, just to finish this story. All right, because I know, I was going to make the joke, I know you're waiting, but now I'm waiting for my coffee break. Oh my gosh. So yeah, if you want to see an actual working example, we have those as well. We have the .NET Podcast project, which is pretty cool. We use that as a showcase. We update it to .NET 6, .NET 7, .NET 8. We use it for benchmarks. We use it for all kind of stuff. You can also go to .NETpodcasts.com. There's a hosted version, and it uses it has a couple of cool things. It has a full architecture picture. You can host all of that stuff on your own Azure account. Don't forget to turn it off if you're done playing. Ask me how I know. And so there's all this stuff, right? And it has the server, the website, a bunch of microservices. And the really cool thing is the website uses Blazor, and you have all these podcast feeds, and you can create a room with a login code that you can go into with your friends, and then you can leave emoji responses, and you can listen together. So the sync is on where you are in that podcast. You can listen together, and that all works through SignalR. And the really cool part is for the .NET MAUI stuff is we have the mobile app built twice. Once with native .NET MAUI, if you will, so all .NET MAUI, XAML, all that stuff. And we have one with .NET MAUI Blazor. So that's the entire same client application, but now shared with code with the web application with Blazor. And then a bunch of Azure microservices, stuff that I don't know anything about, right? So there's a bunch of cool stuff, and that all works with SignalR as well. So that's a really cool real-life project that you could check. So with all these choices, I always get the question also hey, when do I choose what? Well, it all depends, right? So if you want to go for reach, if you want to have your application on everything that runs a browser, even if it's your refrigerator, you should go with Blazor, right? Or if we look beyond Microsoft, then any web application. You can just open a browser, go there, and that will run. If you want to have in between there, if you want to have the power of the platform, but you still want to leverage all your web skills, you want to be there in the middle with kind of your hybrid approach, Blazor Hybrid, .NET MAUI hybrid stuff. And you can also choose to do things with Electron, a native app with a web view. It's on there. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's something that you could consider. And if you really want to have the power of a platform, whether that's Windows or anything else, you just want to get into that framework that is supposed to run in there, right? So WinForms, WPF, WinUI, or of course MAUI, which I would personally recommend you would use. But that only makes sense if you're going to build your app cross-platform, right? If you know that your application is only going to run on Windows forever, probably WPF or WinUI is a good choice as well, right? It's just about the right platform for the right thing. All right, so thank you so much for seeing me struggle here a little bit. I promise I have to do the session again next week, so I promise I will be working then. The bad news is you will all have to come to Prague to see it. Is that I'm not paying, if that's what you're asking. Thank you so much, and enjoy the last sessions of this conference.